Have you ever stared at your textbook, heart pounding, mind screaming, I can't do this anymore? It's 2 a.m., your coffee's cold, and that deadline feels like a guillotine over your neck. You're not just tired, you're drowning in self-doubt, paralyzed by the fear you'll fail, and wondering why everyone else seems to have it together. Sound familiar? You're not alone. Every Gen Z student feels this chaos. The burnout, the procrastination, the voice in your head whispering, why even try? But what if you could study smarter, not harder, and claw your way out of this mess? This isn't about generic hacks or fake positivity. This is about rewiring how you face the grind when you're one step from giving up. Stick with me, because by the end, you'll have a battle plan to take back control. The weight of the breaking point. So, you're sitting there staring at that textbook, feeling like you're carrying a 1,000-pound weight on your chest. That moment from the cold open, it's not just a bad night, it's a cycle. You're stuck in a loop of procrastination, self-doubt, and panic, and it's eating you alive. Maybe you've got a test tomorrow, or a paper due, and your brain's screaming, I should have started earlier. Sound familiar? That's the breaking point, and every Gen Z student knows it. It's when you're not just fighting schoolwork, you're fighting yourself. Let's get real. You didn't choose to procrastinate because you're lazy. You're not broken or bad at this. It's deeper. Maybe it's the fear of failing after pouring your heart into it. Maybe it's the pressure from parents, teachers, or that perfect classmate who seems to glide through life. Or maybe it's the chaos inside your head, social media notifications, existential dread, or just wondering if any of this even matters. You're not alone in this. Studies show over 80% of students feel overwhelmed by academic pressure, and Gen Z's mental health struggles are at an all-time high. You're not failing at studying. You're fighting a war on multiple fronts. This is where the shift starts. Studying smarter isn't about fancy apps or color-coded planners. It's about understanding why you're stuck and rewiring your approach to match how your brain actually works. You're not a robot. You're a human with limits, emotions, and a life outside those textbooks. So, let's pause the self-hate for a second. Why you're really procrastinating. You're not giving up, not today, not ever. But let's be honest, that promise feels shaky when you're stuck in that procrastination spiral we talked about. You know, the one where you open your laptop to study but somehow end up scrolling TikTok for an hour, heart racing as the clock ticks. Why does this keep happening? You're not lazy and you're not stupid. So, what's really going on? Let's rip the Band-Aid off and face the truth about why you're procrastinating. First, it's not just about distractions. Procrastination is your brain's way of protecting you from something deeper: fear, overwhelm, or even perfectionism. Maybe you're scared that if you start, you'll mess up, and that failure will confirm every doubt you have about yourself. Or maybe the task feels so huge, your brain shuts down before you even try. I get it. I once avoided a 10-page essay for weeks because I was terrified it wouldn't be good enough. Sound familiar? Research backs this up. Psychologists say procrastination often stems from emotional avoidance, not poor time management. You're not dodging the work, you're dodging the feelings that come with it. Your brain is wired to seek instant gratification. Studying for a test that's days away, no immediate reward. Watching a YouTube video, instant dopamine hit. Social media, snacks, even cleaning your room, your brain picks these because they feel good now. Meanwhile, the pressure of studying builds like a storm cloud, and the longer you avoid it, the worse it gets. Add in Gen Z's constant bombardment notifications, FOMO, the pressure to have it all together, and it's no wonder you're stuck. But here's the good news. Understanding why you procrastinate is the first step to beating it. You're not broken. Your brain's just playing a survival game with outdated rules. Studying smarter means flipping the script, making the work feel less like a monster and more like something you can tackle. How? By breaking the cycle of avoidance and rewiring your brain's reward system. It's not about forcing yourself to focus harder. It's about making studying feel less like a punishment. Trick your brain to start. You're stronger than you think, and you're about to prove it. But knowing why you procrastinate, like we uncovered in the last part, is only half the battle. The real challenge is getting started when every fiber of your being is screaming, Not now. Your brain's wired to dodge pain and chase quick wins. So how do you make studying feel less like climbing a mountain? The answer isn't willpower, it's strategy. Let's talk about how to trick your brain into starting so you can study smarter without the mental tug-of-war. First, forget just do it. That advice is like telling someone who's drowning to just swim. Instead, try this. The 2-minute rule. Commit to just 2 minutes of work. Not a whole chapter, not an hour, just 2 minutes. Open your notes, read one paragraph, or write one sentence. Sounds stupidly small, right? That's the point. Your brain sees a tiny task and thinks, "Psh, I can do that." And here's the magic. Once you start, you often keep going. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect. Your brain hates unfinished tasks, so starting even a tiny piece pulls you in. I tried this with a math assignment I'd avoided for days. 2 minutes of reviewing a single problem turned into an hour of actual progress. Next, make it rewarding. Your brain craves dopamine, so give it some. Pair studying with something you enjoy, a favorite playlist, a cozy blanket, or a snack you love, just not too distracting. This isn't bribing yourself, it's rewiring the experience. Instead of studying pain, you're teaching your brain studying tolerable, maybe even nice. I used to put on lo-fi beats and pretend I was in a chill coffee shop. Suddenly, my desk felt less like a prison. These aren't hacks. They're ways to work with your brain, not against it. You're not forcing yourself to study, you're making it easier to start. Study sessions that don't break you. You're starting to see I tone tiny step at a time. You can outsmart your brain's resistance, like we explored in the last part. Those tricks, like the 2-minute rule and brain dumping, get you in the game. But what happens next? You're finally at your desk, ready to study. But 5 minutes in, you're exhausted, overwhelmed, or forgetting everything. Sound familiar? That's because most students study in ways that set them up to crash. Let's fix that by designing study sessions that don't just work, they keep you sane and actually help you learn. First, ditch the marathon mindset. You're not a machine, and grinding for hours doesn't mean you're productive. Instead, use the Pomodoro technique, but make it yours. Work for 25 minutes, then take a 5-minute break. During that break, move, stretch, grab water, or stare out a window. No screens. Research shows short breaks boost focus and prevent burnout. I used to think breaks were wasting time, but after trying Pomodoro, I realized I retained more in one focused hour than in 3 hours of zombie scrolling through notes. Here's the big one. Plan with your energy, not against it. You've got peak focus times, maybe mornings, maybe late nights. Track when you feel sharpest, then schedule your hardest tasks then. Save easier stuff, like organizing notes, for when you're sluggish. Gen Z's always juggling a million things, so don't waste your best hours on low-priority tasks. I used to study calculus at midnight when I was half dead. Switching to mornings cut my study time in half. These strategy short bursts, active learning, energy-based planning turns studying into something sustainable. You're not just surviving, you're building momentum. Facing the fear of failure. You're rewriting what's possible for you, and those study sessions we built in the last part, short bursts, active learning, energy-based planning, are setting you up to win. But let's be real, even with the best strategies, there's a shadow lurking in the back of your mind. It's that voice whispering, "What if I fail?" That fear of screwing up, of not being good enough, can paralyze you faster than any deadline. For Gen Z students, it's not just about grades, it's the weight of expectations, comparison, and the dread of letting yourself or others down. So, how do you study smarter when fears got you in a chokehold? Let's face it head on. First, understand this. Fear of failure isn't a sign you're weak, it's a sign you care. That anxiety means you want to do well, but it's misfiring, turning your motivation into a roadblock. The trick isn't to ignore it, it's to reframe it. Psychologists say fear often comes from catastrophizing, imagining the worst-case scenario, like failing a test means you're doomed forever. But let's break it down. One bad grade isn't the end of your story. I used to spiral, thinking a low quiz score meant I'd never get into grad school. Then I started asking, what's the actual worst that could happen? Usually, it's not as bad as your brain makes it out to be. Another game changer. Embrace good enough. Perfectionism is fear's sneaky cousin, and it's killing your progress. You don't need a perfect essay or a 100% on every quiz. Aim for progress, not perfection. I started giving myself permission to write messy first drafts, and it was like unlocking a superpower suddenly. I was finishing things. Fear will always be there, but it doesn't have to run the show. You're learning to work with it, not against it. Staying consistent in the chaos. You're building a mindset that can handle anything, and facing your fear of failure, like we tackled in the last part, is a huge step. You're learning to quiet that inner critic and keep moving forward, even when it's messy. But let's be real. Life as a Gen Z student is a whirlwind. Between group chats blowing up, social media pulling you in, and the constant pressure to keep up with friends, classes, and maybe even a side hustle, staying consistent feels like trying to juggle flaming torches while riding a unicycle. So, how do you study smarter when the world around you is pure chaos? Let's lock in a plan to stay steady no matter what life throws at you. First, create a chaos-proof system. Consistency isn't about studying for hours every day. It's about small, repeatable habits that stick. Start by setting a daily anchor habit. This is one non-negotiable thing you do no matter how crazy life gets. Maybe it's 10 minutes of flashcards every morning or reviewing notes before bed. Keep it so simple it's impossible to skip. I used to commit to just 5 minutes of vocab review over breakfast, and it became my rock, even on days when everything else fell apart. Research shows habits as small as 1 minute a day can build momentum over time. Here's the big one. Protect your energy, not just your time. Social pressures like saying yes to every hangout or feeling FOMO can drain you. Practice saying no to things that don't serve your goals. It's not selfish, it's survival. I started scheduling one night a week for myself, no plans, just studying or chilling. It recharged me for the grind. Consistency isn't perfection, it's showing up, even when it's messy. You're building a system that works with your life, not against it. Measuring progress without obsessing over grades. You're thriving, not just surviving. And those chaos-proof habits from the last part, like anchor habits and taming distractions, are helping you stay consistent in the Gen Z whirlwind. But here's where it gets tricky. You're putting in the work, showing up even on tough days, but how do you know it's paying off? If you're like most students, you've been trained to measure success by grades. A bad test score can feel like a punch to the gut, undoing all your effort. But tying your worth to a number is a recipe for burnout and self-doubt. Let's shift gears and learn how to measure progress in a way that keeps you motivated and studying smarter without the grade obsession. Redefine success. Grades are feedback, not your identity. Instead of chasing an A, focus on process goals, things you control. Did you stick to your 25-minute Pomodoro sessions? Did you actively recall 3 concepts today? Did you start studying without procrastinating? Track these wins in a simple notebook or app. I started jotting down one thing I did well each study session, like explained mitosis to myself without notes. These small victories built my confidence way more than waiting for a report card. Research shows focusing on controllable goals boosts motivation and reduces anxiety. Your brain needs to know hard work matters, even if the outcome isn't perfect. Set up a reward system for effort. Maybe a favorite snack after 3 study sessions, or an episode of your show after a week of consistency. This isn't fluffy self-care, it's psychology. Positive reinforcement makes your brain associate studying with good vibes. I treated myself to boba every Friday if I hit my anchor habit all week, and it kept me going. At the end of each week, take 5 minutes to ask, what went well? What can I tweak? Maybe you nailed your morning study routine but got derailed by late-night scrolling. Adjust without judgment. This reflection habit, backed by studies on metacognition, helps you learn from your own patterns. I realized I retained more when I studied in short bursts, so I doubled down on that. Measuring progress this way, process goals, effort rewards, reflection keeps you in the driver's seat. You're not at the mercy of grades or perfection. So, what's next? Start today. Pick one thing from this video, maybe the 2-minute rule or a 5-minute brain dump, and try it. Don't aim for perfection, aim for progress. You're not alone in this struggle, and you don't have to be perfect to succeed. Every Gen Z student feels the weight of procrastination, burnout, and fear, but you've got a battle plan now. You're stronger than your doubts, and you're capable of more than you know. Drop a comment below. What's one thing you'll try to study smarter? Subscribe for more real talk on crushing the student grind, and hit the bell so you don't miss our next video. You're not giving up, not today, not ever. Let's keep fighting together.